where do new investments sit kind of in relation to steady state operations? You know, how do you find room for that stuff, or you know, how do you balance the two?
It depends. Again, we look at magnitude of impact, running room for building on it in the future, and so for us, if it's a capital investment on a project that we're implementing, if it's a one and done kind of investment, we're less interested in that. If it's an investment that has the potential to be applied in other areas or in other ways or through extended growth, those are the things that we're most interested in, and that could be either capital investment in an oil and gas development or capital investment in our people, and that means taking a look at parts of our organization, how they're performing, and if we're just kind of doing something for one group that isn't going to help the rest of the organization, or doesn't have the ability to be spread out, then those are the ideas that are probably going to fall to the lower part of the list, except those that could significantly impact the future. And innovation is one of those things that we're trying to figure out now. How do we enable a part of our organization to feel that they have the time, the resources, and the support to be more innovative, and so you're balancing those investments that are for now and medium term, and then the innovation one for us is for the long term. So you do need to balance for the periods that you're looking at going forward.
So guys, I want to capitalize on what Vicki was saying about championing new initiatives. What specific value do you look for when you go to make an investment on something new?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things we look at. The first one is what the overall benefit's going to be to the business. And the challenge that we have is there's many great innovative ideas for improvements within the company. New computer systems to do specific tasks, or a new technology, a new piece of equipment, a new model of implementing even leadership development type programs. Mm-hmm. The end is what we're looking for is for the people who are the voices for these processes to learn to speak the language of the business as well. And so if you're telling me that this piece of equipment is just the coolest, greatest thing out there, but it doesn't show how it's improving patient safety, our throughput, our predictability, it's not helpful. The second thing, in full transparency, is the probability for the ability to finance and the probability to implement within the given environment that we're in. In a highly regulated space, if we want to use a new computer system for something, it has to go through a whole computer system life cycle of validation. And if that sounds painful, you got it right. It's painful. And so really, we need to align really the impact to our business mission, the probability of being able to do it in a proper cycle time, and the ability to pay for it.
Great. Andy, any additional
Yeah, I think the question or the answer, what's the overall benefit to the company, becomes harder and harder as you move down the org chart. And there's a translation layer between the decisions that happen at the executive level to the, to the managers underneath, and eventually to the kind of the line workers. And translating the, that vision of what it is that the company values is a really difficult step, and it does drive some of the decisions that happen not so much at the top of a company, but in the middle part of the company. And that's where that clarity of purpose, that constancy of purpose, is so important. So whether to buy a new piece of equipment, if people understand and have a shared sense of value of what the company, what matters to the company, whether it's return on investment, social return on investment, life cycle, efficacy, patient experience, all of those things sort of roll up into it, and the decisions become easier for the organization to make rather than for exclusively living at the executive level, and that's a sense of empowerment that's often very difficult for companies. You were asking about what you would advise for, or what you're planning for investments, and at least for my clients, a lot of them are focusing more on top-line growth. So innovation, new offerings, new ways of working. They know they have to keep the lights on, they know they have to keep the engine running, and there are internal sort of operational initiatives and innovation that happens internally. But most of the companies that I work with are thinking, at least with me, they're thinking more about top-line growth.
Yeah.